This estate sale was so crazy, I started digging through the dumpster out back. It was that good. What's up, everyone? My name is Zach, and I love to go to estate sales, and today, I'm at one. I'm here. Let's start looking through all this stuff. This estate sale was kind of weird because I went into the house and didn't find much of anything, but when I walked out to the garage, I was shocked. It was filled to the brim with stuff. I was talking to the estate sale company, and they told me the original owner used to sell at like flea markets and would buy a ton of stuff from Goodwill. So basically, I'm shopping at my own estate sale. But right when I walked in, I found all of these vintage glasses, and I knew it was going to be good because I saw these Spuds MacKenzie glasses. I was like, damn, this guy knows what's up. One of the coolest things I found pretty much right away, and my apologies for this video being vertical. I filmed a lot of these for TikToks that I made, but I wanted to add these in. I saw these, and most of you probably be like, what the heck is that? And they're all attached by a string. They turn out to be vintage golf head covers. So they go on top of your golf club, kind of like this, like those things right there. But they've got the classic Coors Light can look with the reflective silver. I think they really should bring that back because I love that style. The garage was a complete mess, but also really organized. And I'll explain why I think that is later in the video. But he had labeled all the boxes perfectly and taped them shut. So to see what was even in them, I had to open them up to check it out for myself. One of the coolest boxes I opened was filled with vintage ashtrays. I found a lot of ashtrays in the past, but never this many in one spot. Like I mentioned earlier, he loved to go to Goodwill, and a lot of them have Goodwill tags still stuck on them. And this tag in particular was dated the year 2000, so this thing has been in the box for over 20 years. There's a lot of really weird ashtrays in here, but one of the weirdest is this tire ashtray. I never knew this existed, but I guess back in the day, tire companies would give these out as advertisements, which I think that's a genius way to advertise. All of these ashtrays and everything I find in this video, I'm going to be showing off at the end so you can see everything in more detail. I know some of this footage is a little bit wonky. This was a really nice garage and had 2 floors to it, so I decided to go upstairs to check out what was up there. And when I went to walk up, on the steps were these posters, and I had no idea what they were going to be when I lifted that up. They turned out to be vintage Wrangler advertisement posters. Right when I saw these, I started thinking, what are they doing here? So I started picking them up, but they're so heavy, I had to take multiple trips just to get them outside. And once I got them all out, I headed upstairs to see what else could be in this place. Upstairs, it was pretty similar to what it was like downstairs. There was stuff everywhere, tons of different boxes, but one thing I saw right when I walked up was this art print right on top of everything. What I didn't realize was the art print was on top of thousands of other vintage posters. This clip is from the other direction facing where I originally came up the steps. I just knew there was going to be a lot of cool posters in here. The only problem was this stack weighed like a ton. Each poster design was wrapped in brown paper, and there had to have been over 100 posters in each of these brown wrappings, so they weighed so much. There were some that were individually rolled up that I found right here at the start, and I started freaking out once I saw this. So I saw this basketball player, I was like, oh, this could be cool in here. And then I found this Wrangler girl poster, and I was like, oh crap, there could be so many good ones. It didn't take me long to realize I was right. I mean, just check out this Wrangler lips one. She has a button from a Wrangler pair of jeans in her mouth. That's so cool. At this point, I was out in the garage for a long ass time, so my wife Allie came looking for me, and luckily she came at the right time because she helped me move some of the heavier papers that were up top, and we started pulling out some really cool stuff. So it's kind of hard to tell in the video, but these are all stacks of the exact same poster print wrapped up in brown paper. I don't know of the process of actually printing these, but I'm guessing once they print the right amount, they wrap them up in brown paper and send them wherever they have to go. Once I got downstairs, I asked some of the estate sale people why he had so many of these posters, and they said that he used to work for a printing company in the 80s. I'm not sure how he ended up with all these, but my best guess is that he took home some of the sample prints that they made before they made the larger quantities. This clip right here is my favorite. It looks like we uncovered a fossil or something. I wish I knew the exact story on how these all got up here, but I do believe that he worked at a printing company because there are some weird test print looking things in here that I found, like this Fruity Pebbles box one. It took us forever to get to the bottom of the stack because everything was so heavy, but I think my favorite poster is down here at the bottom. It's so many vintage Wrangler rodeo posters. Here's a better look at them in the daylight. They're huge. I'll show you guys again at the end of the video. I also have to add, a majority of the posters that were in that original stack were art prints, and I did not buy any of them. You guys will have to let me know down below if that was a bad choice. I don't know anything about art, and they took up so much room and were extremely heavy, so I just couldn't take them. After we about broke our backs bringing all of those posters out to the car, I figured, what the hell, I'll go back in and see what else is in here. I started to look through the glasses box that were sealed. I knew they had that Spuds MacKenzie glassware, so I figured there'd be other good stuff in these too. And the first thing I pulled out was this Peanuts McDonald's glass. There's a lot of other great glasses in this box and a few of the other boxes that I bought, so I'll show you those at the end. I was looking at some of the labels on the side, and this one down at the bottom said Old Things. Now, if you can remember, most of these boxes are labeled from the 90s, so what did this guy consider old in the 90s? I was so curious. When I opened the boxes on top, the first one was filled with random books, and the second box was filled with comic books. I did not buy this box. You guys will have to let me know for sure if I made a big mistake not buying it. I don't know a lot about comics, but these didn't strike me as super old. I know age isn't always the main factor, like some even modern books can be worth money depending on the rarity and stuff like that. But to be honest, comic books take a lot of work to sell, and I just don't have the time to list all these, so I left them behind. The bottom box, the one that said Old Things on it, I opened it up, and pretty much the only thing in there was this old picture. So I was pretty bummed out. I was thinking it was going to be like something insane, but it ended up being just this picture. Another awesome thing I found in the upstairs area was this vintage Marlboro neon sign. Unfortunately, this thing does not work. I found a few neon signs in the past, and I've learned if they don't work, the value of them goes way down. Plus, if I were to display it in my workroom or at my house, I definitely would want it to work, so I left it behind. I'm sure you could fix it, but neon lights are pretty hard to fix, so you'd probably have to send it to someone and it would cost money. So that was basically everything I pulled out of the garage. But as I was leaving, I noticed there was this massive dumpster out back that was full of other stuff. So I was so curious about it, so I went over and I asked the estate sale company, and they said the owners of the house, before the sale started, they had to throw away all of this stuff because it was blocking the pathways to walk through the garage. So this was just full of more of the stuff I was looking through inside the garage. So I asked, could I look through it? And they were like, hell yeah, look through it. The second I started looking in here, I realized they made such a big mistake throwing all this stuff away. They could have put this under a tent and had the sale outside too, because, I mean, just look, they threw away like 10 copies of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that have never even been read. Like, all this stuff is just going straight to the landfill if I didn't look through it. And look, if I took it all, I would become a hoarder in a second. It would be like instant hoarder, because all this stuff would just go into my house. So I really had to pick and choose what I took home, but there was a lot of really great stuff. I don't sell toys or collect toys or anything like that, and there were a lot of toys that I'm sure somebody would have bought. I did spot this Budweiser glass in the corner, so I was like, okay, now I gotta look through this box, and I'm happy I was able to pull it out because there's a lot of great glassware in here. I haven't showed you guys all the other glassware that I found inside the garage, but this box is essentially the same exact type of box that I just bought from the sale, but this one's outside in the trash. Underneath that box, I saw another box, and I had to investigate what was in here, and it was also filled with glassware. Right when I reached in, I pulled out this vintage Tasmanian Devil glass. Like I mentioned at the beginning, he used to sell at flea markets, so a lot of the glassware has price tags on it for, I guess, what he was trying to sell them for. There were even better glasses in this box. There's so many. Can you imagine if I didn't find this box and these 1996 Rugrats mugs just got thrown away for no reason? Like, what? I'm realizing that I'm probably starting to look like a crackhead to basically everyone at this estate sale and to the estate sale company. I mean, I'm digging around in the dumpster, and to make matters worse, I need to climb up the side of the dumpster because I cannot reach from the front. So I had to climb up and see what was in here. I'm happy I did because I immediately saw these vintage Pokemon party favor things. This whole box just thrown away right up top. This was the last thing I pulled out of the dumpster and the last thing I got from the sale. The estate sale company said that anything I found in the dumpster I could have completely for free, but I ended up paying them for it. I just thought it was the right thing to do for the family. And plus, if it was a couple feet over in the garage, I would have ended up buying it. So it was just the right thing to do. Now, let's get into the haul. I didn't find too much much clothing this time around. I did find these 3 pairs of jeans out in the dumpster. The floral pair on the left is a brand called Stefano, and these other 2 are vintage Levi's. They're a little bit beat, but they were worth picking up. I didn't get a chance to film in there, but inside the actual house, I did find a couple things. I found this box full of vintage blank t-shirts and this vintage Star Wars Episode 1 phone. I swear, they made so many different products for Star Wars Episode 1. I feel like every time I'm out, I see something different Star Wars Episode 1 branded. I ended up giving this away for free in one of my website drops. It's not super valuable, but I loved how it was double-sided and it's dated 1999 down here on the back. So when I found this box of shirts, I just brought it up to the front and asked them how much they wanted for it, and they said $15. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna buy it. And when I brought it home, there's a lot more shirts in here than I expected. The only problem is they're weird styles. Like this, they're all screen stars, but this pink one has no sleeves, and this baseball version is a youth size. I ended up finding 17 of the pink, 28 of the blue and white, and then this white long sleeve, I found 73 of them. These white shirts are also youth sizes, so I have no idea what I'm going to do with all these shirts, but I did not expect there to be 100 shirts in here. Speaking of things I don't know what I'm going to do with, I found all of these vintage NFL keychains. There's like 30 of them, and they were all in the dumpster, so I couldn't just leave them behind. So here's this box of posters I found at the top of that poster stack. It was one of the first things I found. It has a bunch of individually rolled up posters in here, and if you pause the video on the top of the box, you can see that they wrote 1979 or earlier on it, so I'm sure a lot of these are from earlier than 1979. Unfortunately, the posters in this box, I only found a couple of each, so it was either that single one rolled up, or it had maybe a couple like this roller skating one. I found only like 3 of them. Here's one that I think might be a test print. It's got a bunch of different overlapping designs, and then down at the bottom it says, "We're more than just a cowboy outfit." So you guys will have to let me know if you know anything about that, but I'm really curious, and I found like 20 of those. The basketball player poster I saw when I first opened the box turns out to be a vintage Burger King advertisement poster from the 70s. What I didn't realize was that the phrase "have it your way" and the logo they use now was actually originally from the 70s. I had no idea. This The Fonz poster isn't very big and has crease marks because it was originally sold in a magazine called Dynamite Magazine. I was able to find, I'm pretty sure, the issue that this poster was in. It has the Fonz on the front. After doing a little bit of research, this magazine stopped being produced in 1992, but was popular from the mid-70s all the way up until the early 90s. Both this King Kong poster and this Classic Monsters one also came from Dynamite magazines. I'm really curious if there's other posters that Dynamite magazine released. I wonder if I could go find some Dynamite magazines and maybe they still have their posters inside. I'm sure a lot of kids took them out, but I'm sure some still have the poster intact. And here's the last Dynamite magazine one. It's just a license plate, State of Confusion. This was also in there, a vintage Star Trek meal from McDonald's placemat. I wouldn't really consider this a poster, but I guess you could hang it up on the wall. Speaking of space, there were also a couple of vintage Star Wars posters from like their original movie. They're really old. Somebody commented that these were actually black and white, but somebody colored them in. They were sort of like a coloring book type activity. You guys will have to let me know if you know for sure. All I know is whoever colored this in did a really good job if that's the case. The posters that I saw going up the steps turned out to be 3 different Wrangler posters. It's kind of a miracle that these all survived, considering they were sitting on the steps for who knows how long. This Boy Oh Boy jeans poster is dated 1980, and I'm guessing all of these are from around the same time period, so chances are these were sitting on the steps for around 40 years and are all still in such good condition. I still haven't showed you all the posters yet, but I'd be really curious to know what your guys' top 3 Wrangler posters that I found are. My top 3 would be this one, the lips, and then that Wrangler rodeo. It's so hard to pick because they're all really cool. I should have showed this earlier with the other clothing, but I did find one piece of clothing in the garage, this vintage 1996 Atlanta Olympics hat by Starter. It's a youth size, but I've never seen this design before. I'm sure there was a box of hats somewhere in that place, but I could not find it. Alright, and here are some of the other glassware. The Eagles glasses and the Phillies ones are so cool. There's a couple of shot glasses. This 1977 Phillies glass is so sick. I would be so much more into finding vintage glassware if it was easier to store. It just takes up so much room. With clothing, you can store things by just stacking them and they don't break or anything, but these you got to be really careful about. This guy, one thing about him was he wrapped these all up really good, so they were all in awesome condition. So here are all the ashtrays that I found in that one box. This one in particular is by far the best. I didn't even know what it was at first. I thought it was just, it had a handle on top, because I have seen some that like sit about 2 or 3 feet in the air and have a handle up top. So I thought that's what it was. But when you turn it at an angle, it's actually a shotgun up top. I'm still pretty new to the ashtray game, and I never knew anything like that existed. I'm sure there's other versions with different guns, and there's probably other versions with other things up top. You guys will have to let me know if you've ever found anything like that. These two ashtrays are also really great. I've seen this design on a t-shirt before, but never on an ashtray. And then this one's a top hat. So I love weirdly shaped ashtrays. I think that's so fun. And here's a better look at the tire ashtray that I showed at the beginning. Freaking love this one. One thing I love about estate sales is you'll just end up buying something you never expected to find, like this entire box of ashtrays. I've bought a few in the past, but never this many at once, and it's just one of my favorite things I've found in a while. I wanted to show you guys that box that I pulled out of the back side of that dumpster. I don't know what this is. It's hacky sack for your hand. I've never heard of it, but it strikes me as something that I would ask for as a kid and use once and then never use again. I'm guessing this is from like the late 90s, early 2000s. You'll have to let me know. I also grabbed this VHS. This is sort of like the start of a horror movie, you know? I find this VHS in a dumpster and I press play and then I get haunted by this weird dog puppet thing. I've never heard of Toby before, but maybe one of you has. So here's the last group of posters. I'm sorry everything's in sort of a weird order, but I wanted to show the posters first, but then it got really windy, so then I started showing the glassware, but I still had all the posters to show. This one I found about 1 million of, and it's dated 1981. This girl is the one that we uncovered like we were archaeologists. I can't believe how good condition all of these are in. This one, I decided not to even open. It's still sealed in its original packaging, and I'm guessing all those posters are in here, but I won't know until I open it. This group is the exact same as the one I showed earlier, except this one I opened on the edge just to make sure all of them were in there, and there's so many of these ones too. So of this design, I have literally so many of them. I also really like this poster. It's printed on this heavyweight and sturdy paper. It's almost like business card paper. I can't imagine how much it costs for them to print these posters, and then they were sealed and never shipped to wherever they need to go. Considering how expensive it is to print now, I'm sure it was pretty expensive to print back then, so I'm sure these cost a lot of money back in the day to make. So here's the last two Wrangler posters I found. Unfortunately, this lips one I found only a single one of, and I just gave it away for free on my website drop. I wish I found more of them, but unfortunately, looking through that whole stack, this was the only one, and it was wrapped up in that top box. This was one of the best estate sales that I've ever been to. I'm lucky that I was able to record in there and show you guys all of my finds. I was even able to find some shipping tubes hidden upstairs in the attic, so I even bought those. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I've got a bunch of cool videos planned for the future, and make sure to comment down below what your top 3 favorite Wrangler posters are from this video. Thanks for watching.